are my friends. Come along with me, see how the story ends.
You're beautiful. It's true. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Professional Hippies. We're your hosts. I'm Colton. This is Dylan. And every week we like to bring in an expert or topics related to somewhere between professionalism, hippie woo-woo. It could be a blend of all the above. This week, you're just hanging out with us. So if you're driving your car, don't meditate unless you can do that with your eyes open, in which case that's like sleeping with your eyes open. That's creepy. We have no direction for today. We got some fun topics.
We had a great guest come in, but last minute trip to Mormon land.
By the way, do they sell liquor in Utah?
Nope. Well, nope. I don't think they do. I
can't remember if they do or not.
Unless it's a whole dry state.
So our guest might have been going out there to set up a moonshine.
Smoke hella weed, I heard, but
yeah, liquor.
Yeah, he was probably going out there to make moonshine, sell it to the locals.
I saw that they are trying to put a cork in the opportunity for mushroom, psilocybin, lead retreats here in Denver.
A great festival experience in Utah. Like if they had a major festival in Utah, right? And then they're like, well, we can't sell alcohol. So all it is natural stuff. So you get your mushrooms and weed. It's just a mushroom. That's all we're allowing in here. But they don't sell alcohol in the state or through vendors. So
I thought you were going in the direction of just saying like Utah's a beautiful state to have festivals. I
think so too. But think about like a festival where people aren't buying alcohol. I just wonder what that vibe would be like, I mean, a lot of people aren't usually on alcohol.
People that are mainly just getting drunk at festivals, I feel like, are the minority anyhow. I feel like I don't run into too many people that are just drunk.
I say it at like Halloween and stuff, sure. But you go to Okeechobee, you go to Bonnaroo, you go to those. There's definitely a lot of drunk people for sure.
Yeah, but I would still say they're in the minority. Like, I don't look at someone tripping over their shoes and go, they're drunk. I just feel like they're seeing holograms of grass.
If they're tripping over the shoe, yeah, maybe. I don't know.
The only reason I say that is because I feel like there's been a couple times where I've seen people be issues, and they're drunk. No one's taken, happy mushrooms and being like, you know what, we got a fucking problem. I mean, actually, maybe there's people out there. I don't run into anybody.
There's a festival in Utah where in order to get to each stage, you had to hike. So the first day, there's little tiny stages on the way. To get to the main stage, you got to make it there by midnight evening.
Like the boss level of the Eclipse Festival, because that was pretty much the Eclipse Festival.
That is true. That's pretty much what the festival was. That horrendous festival. Holy shit.
Utah would be, I mean, there's got to be music festivals going on in Utah, because that would be.
It ain't that bland of a state. They're doing pretty good out there, I feel like.
It's pretty bland of a state. I mean, Sonic Bloom, no, that's Colorado. Didn't we go to Sonic Bloom? Yeah, it doesn't look like they got a lot that we would be like, yeah, let's go.
Right. USF is playing there, so we're going to go to that game probably next year. Just take edibles. Suppose their BYU stadium, supposedly the backdrop of it is the mountains surrounding it, all behind it.
How bought in are you as a USF fan? You're like, every year this is our year, or how does that work?
I mean, I'm not in it. Like, I don't think it's going to be our year every year at all. But
because as a Gator fan, I'm like hopelessly optimistic. Like this year, I'm like, a lot of things could go our way.
I'm optimistic to see improvement. Like, I want to just see improvement. I'm not like, oh, we're going to be the champions this year. I'm just like
5 or 6 years ago, you guys had like an undefeated season, right?
It wasn't undefeated. It was just like we were doing pretty good. Like we made it into a bowl game. We won our bowl game a few years ago. So we're making improvements every year. But it feels like all of our competitors that we've been in have made it on to the Pac-10, Big 12, all those. It's like, hey, we want to get out of this shitty American conference. We're building a new stadium, which is nice.
Yeah, it was 11-2.
Yeah, it was a good year.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of UCF.
Yeah, UCF had a great year.
Yeah.
They were like, we're the national champions because we had a undefeated season. It's like, yeah, because you were in this little shitty conference.
Dude, this year was amazing for football. as far as college goes. Like, I love
Yeah.
seeing the playoffs, and
It was good.
you had 5 and 6 in the national championship. They wouldn't have been in there otherwise.
That was a great game too. Watching
pretty
that
solid.
championship, it was pretty solid. It wasn't like stupendous, but to see Notre Dame play in the championship, I haven't seen that in a while, because it was nice actually seeing them. It was actually nice seeing them in the top 25 being accurate, because they're always in like the top 25 for whatever reason, and then they do so bad they drop off so quick.
Right.
But every year, everyone's like, that's a top 25 team, and then they lose 3 games. And everyone's like, maybe, and then by the 5th one, they're like, we should probably get this team out of here.
Dude, I was watching the Bills game. What was that, Sunday? And Abby was like, "No, I'm telling you, the Chiefs are gonna be Super Bowl." I'm like, "There's no way. There's no way."
Why do they get away with it
I don't
every
know.
time?
Man.
I know everyone's already heard it, 40 times over by this point, but man, like, how come they just
It
get
was relevant to me? I mean, this is my universe. It's like the one season out of the year where I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna be a talking head. I'm gonna be a thought leader. I'm gonna share what I think. I'm like, there's just no shot.
Could you imagine a Lions and Bills game?
I really wanted to see the Lions win. I really, really wanted
Lions
to see them
and
win.
Bills championship Super Bowl would have been awesome.
I'm so disappointed in the Lions.
Right?
You're America's team. Everybody wants you in there.
But they got too many injuries, man. You can only do so much with offense. Your defense has to step, and the defense was stepping it up. They just finally reached a team where their backups could not compete against the starters. That's how good Lions defense is that for all their backups were still crushing other teams until they finally reached a team, which is the
crushing other teams. Their offense was crushing other teams.
Their offense was crushing, but for your backups still to be doing pretty good against.
What a crazy feeling, by the way, to be in the NFL. Like, to be one of the most premier athletes in the world, and the difference between a starter and a backup is still that significant.
Yep. I was watching on the field, like I was watching the team play, my whole mind went to, and all these guys, like there's a 52 roster on each side, so there's 104 people on each side that had to still compete with all the people from their high school to get into college, to compete with all their people in the college, to then get to the combine, then compete with them to get to this point. And now every year you got to do that, right? And so for all these guys to make it to that level, and then like you're saying, the backups within just that level, and then the practice squad. Heck, there's even practice squad people that's helping them out.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's like some of the politics involved too. But
it's amazing how many of them are always high. Just because they're like on something too. Whether it's weed, Percocets, pain pills, Tylenol, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like the painkillers,
Yeah.
That was I don't know, that's kind of an odd transition, but that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, because when we moved here, I was telling Abby today, I was like, it's kind of cool that it's been a month since I've had a Zen pouch or whatever, a nicotine pouch. I've done like a couple of times when we go out snowboarding or whatever, hanging out with Mike, hit a nicotine pen. But just kind of realizing, having a month of really no consistent nicotine. I can't imagine the damage that those guys go through. And then for the rest of their life, they're like, I need something to help me stay focused or get out of bed or to whatever. Because now not having kind of like that stimulus in my body, it feels like I can hold a thought a lot longer. I'm more excited to wake up. And same thing with caffeine. So I haven't really had much caffeine. I think maybe 3 or 4 days out of last month I've had some caffeine. I don't know. I think the main thing I'm getting to is kind of boring, and I might go back to a vice. I don't know what the right move is here. I think that's what vices are meant to do, is kind of spice up life, or am I just getting the wrong message?
I feel like the brain craves a vice, right? So if it's not artificial, then you're like, oh, well, my vice is going and lifting weights. My vice is sleeping. My vice is studying calculus.
Jerking off.
Vice is jerking off, whatever it might be. Like, I feel like the brain needs something to expel itself from working now and then.
Yeah. Got back into the gym this week. Feeling good about that.
So I don't know where it came from, but it was something I saw online where the topic came up like your soul is one thing and then your body's the other, right? And I was reading the comments, and it's like, well, yeah, that's why your brain wants a vice, because your soul is one thing and your brain's helping with your body. So you have two. It's really two vices. It's your soul wants something that you crave, and your soul goes after something, but then your body's like, hey, man, I also need a break now and then, and I need a vice now and then. So maybe your soul is after, maybe that's what your soul's after. Your vice is after longing. What's the next thing? And that's why the religious is usually the vice for the soul. And then artificially, the vice for your brain is like, hey, man, I just want a beer. Hey, man, I just want to stop. I just want to feel something other than the body for a second.
That's an interesting take. And I feel in a weird way, you're telling me to go to church, but that's okay.
Well, church, to me, you could just take mushrooms. That's another form, right?
They have the Church of Cannabis here. Have you seen that?
I want that. Where's that? Where do I pay my tithes?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's pretty close to us, actually. I don't know where it's located, but Mike was telling me it's like 10 minutes from us.
Imagine you actually pay your tithes, and then they're like, yeah, every time you come to church, we have a roll ready for you. Welcome.
The weird part about living here is because I'm not a big smoker. I'll do it here and there, but it's not like, oh, I can't wait to smoke some ganja. We've gone to a dispensary, and it is such a weird, wild, cool experience. Because we've gone to, I don't even know how many dispensaries together in different states or whatever, but living here, it's kind of a different experience. I'm like, oh, I can just go anytime I want. I can go to a 7-Eleven of cannabis and get whatever, right?
Yeah. In Colorado Springs, we went to one. And I was like, all right, just show her this. And went to one and asked the guy, like, all right, here's what I want, type of situation. And yeah, he was like educational about it. Like, here, I have this one. I've tried this one, and this is what you could do for this experience. It's just like it was kind of nice more than just going into like, I feel like in Florida, they're like, here you go, buy it, you're out. If you try to get something. But in Denver, like it's almost like they've trained themselves and gone through training and different. All right, so if you go to a nice restaurant, all the servers have dabbled into each food, so they know
that's
what they're
exactly
talking
what
about.
it's like. They're like, the guy was so fired up to tell us about a strain, and Abby was like trying to be excited. She was like, "Oh, okay." He's like, the owner of this company, they made this strain, and it's just like this other strain, and it's so weird because it's not supposed to be like that, and it's like that. And I can tell you from personal experience, that's the best strain out there, full stop, according to me. But you tell me what you think, because I really like that one. And we're like, do you have a fucking flow chart for what you just broke down there, bro?
Yeah, he breaks it down. And I'm like, I'm just going to go with whatever you just said, dude, because it sounds like the right answer. I don't know what else. Oh, actually, let me go against all that knowledge you said. What's the next best thing?
Well, as we were leaving, I was saying, hey, I just can't wait until they have shops like that for other experiences, like psychedelics, mushrooms, or whatever. Because I was in Amsterdam
for a minute. That was cool.
Did you say you want a Newport?
No, they had one like that here in Ybor for a minute when they were selling mushrooms, and then
they were selling the Santa Claus, the Amanita muscaria,
and that. And they got them. They were doing it for a while because I went in there. I was like, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for. I see you have different strains." Like, they were like, "All right, da 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 da," and then they popped them. The FDA, how they got them was the FDA say this is a consumable product and it has not been FDA approved. Wasn't that which it's not that the stuff was illegal. It's that the FDA hasn't approved them to sell this consumable product yet.
Well, the irony is that they have the most issues with Amanita muscaria. I don't know why. I'm not incredibly well versed on that topic, but I do remember reading a little bit about that. People just have bad reactions to it. Like,
Yeah,
kind of totally different than psilocybin. Like on top of like the
kind of like
normal.
Delta 8, like people smoking Delta 8.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like you have people that have different side effects from fake weed, quote unquote, than cannabis.
Mhm.
Not a ton. You'll hear some people that's like, wow, you had that reaction when you tried weed for the first time.
Mhm.
You'll hear a lot more of that from like Delta 8 or spice type stuff. That's a great analogy. But when I was in Amsterdam and I went and bought truffles, that was the experience I had. As far as I walked in, she's like, "Hey, how can I help you?" I'm like, "I don't know if I'm allowed to. I'm here for the truffles." She was like, "Okay, what kind do you want?" I'm like, "What am I allowed to say?" She was like, "Just about everything, but you're recorded, so it's okay." Because here, it's like you go into a place where it's illegal. It's like, these are tobacco pipes. We're going to be servicing your tobacco. If you say anything to do with illicit substances, we're going to have you leave, sir. It's like, all right, cool. Can you go sell me a gram in the back then, or how's this work?
What do we do? I remember I walked into I had to take a drug test in college for my job, and it was like a surprise drug test. And the boss was like, "All right." I told my boss, "Was like, sorry, man, I just smoked weed, like, and I know you need me here tomorrow because no one else is working tomorrow. So what? I'm gonna make this work." And he goes, "All right, I'll give you 24 hours. Like, go do your thing, but you have to take it tomorrow." And I'm so, all right, if that's what you want to do. So, and I just went to the nearest like smoke shop and I waited till everyone walked out so no one was inside. And I walked inside. I was like, "Can I bring up marijuana for a minute?" And he was like, "With no one here." And he was like, "All right." And I explained my situation. Like, "Hey man, I need to know what I need to do for a drug test." And he goes, "Here, take this, drink this. 2 hours before you got to piss, and then go do it." And I sure enough, I freaking passed that test. That was crazy, but it was just funny when I going into the smoke shop, and I was like, I waited till everyone cleared out, and I was like, "I got to be real with you for a minute." It's like, "All right,
I need your help.
I need your help. I don't need
Dude,
smokable
the
products.
best
I
part
need to
about
get."
that is just being real with your manager. It's like, I know you need me just as much as I need this job.
Yeah,
So we need to have an understanding right now.
yeah, because it was something. What it was is I was driving the shuttle for a job for the job with that hotel, and I went to go around this roundabout at the VA offices. As I'm going around the roundabout, this person parked there with the van opens up the back of the van as I'm going by and right up the side of the thing. So because of driving the van, they have to submit the claim, and so this person has to get a drug test. I'm like, great. And tell my boss, like, "Hey man, I wasn't high on the job, but I was for sure high the night before." So, so I had to go through that process.
Oh man. Yeah, that's just, I don't know. That's one of those things where sometimes I'm like envious of people that I feel like can just smoke and do whatever. That's just not me, you know.
Yeah. I
Shut
have
the
found
shade up.
getting doing lighter amounts, like getting 2 milligram edibles and
Oh yeah.
going out. That's awesome. I love doing that.
Oh, if we're talking about like, I don't need to be working proficient human being. Like, well, I don't know what we did the other day. I don't know, we were just bopping around exploring, got some bagels and shit. Like, that's
Well, I
great.
mean, even if I'm doing manual labor, it's nice. I like being high while I'm doing manual labor.
You're alone
That's
on
good.
that. You
That's
know
good
me,
for me.
man. I like the Red Bull. I like the freaking
I
growing
like
some
both.
stumps.
Yeah, I like both. Like some days I like the coffee. Some days I like energy drink. Who
You
knows
know
what
what?
the day's going.
Abby and I were talking about this the other day. We passed by a couple of homeless people, and I was like,
Oh,
this is a shitty place to be homeless. Like, I would not want to be homeless in Colorado,
why?
specifically for the winter. I mean,
Yeah, but it's cool most of the year, so that's the thing. Yeah, winter's tough, but you get this short period of the winter where it's just freezing cold. You're like,
I
all
guess
right.
so. Yeah. I
And
guess
there's
you can.
shelters and all that kind of stuff you can go into. But at least it's not 90 degrees, 100 degrees most of the year, like being homeless in Florida. And you're in a state that like wants to take care of homeless people.
So Dylan, we're not seeing like homeless people rock Gore-Tex jackets and boots, and like there was a dude walking down the street with a blanket and no shoes on.
He's living the dream.
It's 12 degrees outside. Fuck that noise.
I mean, he's probably high as a kite too.
Or just flat out mentally ill. I mean, I guess you got to
Mentally
think
ill. Yeah.
most of the homeless issues because of our lack of resources around mentally.
If you were homeless though, like I feel like I could pick it up. You know, I could figure out how to go
Think so?
do what I need to do. Right.
Yeah.
To figure out what I do. Gotta get a pair of shoes, put some socks on, something. You know,
Have you tried heroin?
at that point I would. Might as well.
I heard it's pretty strong stuff, and at that point you're kind of like, how do I not get sick? And how do I get more of that?
Yeah. I've always said on the deathbed, that's a good place for it.
See, I don't, I used to say the same. I don't think it is, because at that point, like, you're definitely going to die. I want to kind of have the experience and like come out on the other side and, have a couple moments, have a couple days, a couple weeks. I don't know.
If you're on your deathbed, you're already surrounded by medical people and you're like, hey man, shoot me with that good stuff if things start going south during this. Not trying to die.
Would you need to feel good to feel the good effects from heroin? I mean, I'm asking a little bit of if you're sick and you get morphine, but
I mean, if I'd say, let me go to the edge, baby. And then that's where, hey, I'm going to feel good if I'm going to the edge. All right, let's get them back. Because that's what they say, right? When every time they put that Narcan in the people doing the fentanyl, and then they get pissed because they're like, oh, you ruined my high. I mean, they're literally dying, basically, and everyone can tell, oh shit, they're dying.
I just want to take a moment for how fucking redneck it was that you said Narcan. Give them some of that Narcan.
Narcan.
Narcan. Narcan. Narcan.
That's
Narcan, dude.
That's the good old Narcan.
Oh yeah, brother. Yeah. Sometimes they do come back, but I think it's because most of the time they don't give a shit if they lived or died anyway.
Oh, you ruined my high. Oh, seeing the light right there.
Right there, man. Right
there,
Strogan.
It's right there.
Bench was a purple mattress for a second. Fucking blew it.
Everything was warm. Wasn't cold out. Had some Jordans on. Shit, dude.
But it's true. I mean, here's a question for you. What do you think happened to the illicit heroin markets? Because now it's flooded with fentanyl. That comes up on my TikTok or Instagram feed or whatever. People interviewing the homeless. I don't know if you've seen those people where they're just like, "What's your story? Who are you?"
I think you go from heroin to fentanyl. I think a lot of people get into the heroin and then they just end up wanting to get to fentanyl because it's cheaper. It's like people that start on coke and then they go to crack.
This interview I saw the other day was the guy was saying, like, even if you wanted to buy heroin, it's like impossible to find real heroin anymore.
Like if someone wanted to get black tar heroin or something, like it's super hard to get that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I think it's like synthetic stuff now, right? Like blues.
Blues are fentanyl.
Is that no? I don't think that's fentanyl. I think that's just synthetic heroin. Or is that what that is?
Fentanyl is synthetic opiate, and heroin's an opiate.
I don't know. I don't know what happened to the poppy seeds.
Well, I'm just saying, like that's a massive business, right? And kind of coming from two different regions. And you have like the Middle East supplying the heroin, and you have China supplying the fentanyl, both of which are probably going through Mexico.
Probably through China and then Mexico. Yeah, probably something like that. I don't know. Let's see.
Imagine talking to like a really big time drug dealer, though, that was just like heroin was his business. And he's like, yeah, we saw it coming. That's why we got into sunflower oil. You know, it's just an emerging market. 'Cause at that point, like they're dealing with so much money. They're looking at macro trends, right? They're not the ones doing the heroin. They're like oil executives.
What's the thing in our food that everyone hates? It's sunflower seed or seed oil.
High fructose corn syrup.
Yeah, syrup. Yeah, the poppy seeds and heroin business is going out, but corn syrup, though, holy shit, the people love it.
Are you seeing what they're doing with soybean oil?
Do you see what they're doing with the seed oil?
That shit's making a comeback. All right.
Chalk too. We lost the chalkboards, but it goes in other things.
Oh God, chalk, dude. That gets me such a visceral reaction. It's like,
remember the teachers used to show off their tricks? They used to.
no, because even as a kid, like my hands are starting to sweat. I don't really do chalk, man. I'm not gonna say I can't do it, but something about the texture. It's not the sound. The sound doesn't really bother me.
There's a very specific chalk that teachers used to like in college. It was like a rare type of chalk.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And they stopped making it. And teachers were like, that was a black market. It might still be.
They were like hoarding that shit. It was like the chalk.
And it became like a black market thing of like, I want to get my hands on that chalk because I guess it felt good.
You know what's pretty cool is, have you seen the chalk bluffs where they like harvest chalk?
No, I didn't even know there's. It's a good question. Where does chalk? I thought it was just compressed material. I guess
it's a stone.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was just compressed cocaine, and they just put it on the boards for everyone to. That's how they keep the kids away.
One would hope. No, dude, they just harvest that shit. I mean, I would imagine that in the process of harvesting, it does get crushed, and then they compress it back. But
because it's such a fine powder, it's releasing because they compress it so much. Comes out, but for it to be, it's like cork. Who knew? How many people know cork comes off of trees? There's a cork tree.
I never in a million years would have guessed it, unless I saw it with my own eyes.
I didn't believe it the first time someone told me when I was a kid. They're like, yeah, it comes off of cork. I'm like, I don't believe that at all.
Or the amount of training that the people that harvest the cork trees have to go through to preserve them, because I think they can only harvest a cork tree once every like 4-6 years, something like that.
Or it's like bananas. The process of getting bananas to people is insane.
I mean, bananas, I would have been like, yeah, I believe that comes off a tree.
You don't regrow the tree though. The whole tree dies.
Right.
Every year they have to put a whole new tree in the ground for that thing.
They don't have to put a whole other tree in the ground.
I think so. They have to regrow the whole thing every year.
What I would give to have a producer on the show to be able to fact check us and feed us the information we don't know what we're talking about.
Pull that shit up, Paul.
Especially around politics. I miss election season just for the politic conversations where it's like, yeah, well, that was an okay fact. Watch this made up half-assed fact.
What is a fact is Pelosi's crushing it in the markets, and we should all just follow whatever she's doing.
Oh my God. I think they have apps that will automatically invest for you. And I just want to throw $1,000 to it.
I'm sure they do. I just wish I had it. The problem is as soon as those apps came out, the market was like, oh, we created the apps for you. Don't you wish you had the money to use it now? Remember when you did have money? We didn't have the apps for you then. Now we do.
To harvest chalk for chalkboards, companies primarily mine limestone and naturally occurring rock, and create chalk sticks. So I guess it's mainly limestone.
It's right here in Florida. Should be digging it out of the roads.
Maybe I was just misquoting some bullshit I saw about some bluffs where they would go and it makes sense. Limestone is pretty much chalk, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I'm surprised there hasn't been at a festival where they have just a massive chalkboard. And I just put chalk out and be like, have fun. Erase it. We'll erase it tonight and start over tomorrow.
We've definitely passed some shit like that. We just chose not to engage with it. We've seen like big I love, and people write all the stuff they love, and then someone has like a big cock that they draw on it or whatever.
The light bulbs at Burning Man were hilarious. He chopped the light bulbs.
I love the interactive factor.
That was so funny.
We have EDC Vegas coming up, and then I don't know.
Tyler's going to that with y'all.
He is.
He's stoked about that.
Yeah, I was talking to him the other day about figuring out the transportation logistics. Getting older, man. It starts to get to the point where you're like,
well, he asked if I wanted to go to Ultra. And we agreed to do the Ultra thing. I'm like, I ain't doing no GA for that. We're going GFP in there, buddy. I am not experiencing GA again in that place.
When is Ultra?
March 26th, I think.
How'd you pull off getting to go to that? I thought you were on.
I basically, because Tyler is basically the last thing I'm going to be able to do with my brother for a while. I was like, all right, we'll go do this last big thing for a while.
That's a really good card to be able to pull from your brother.
Yeah.
It's like his world just opened up as ours is, I'm not going to say closing, just kind of turning a little bit.
Just turning a little bit.
I say that. I don't know.
Just a yip and a yap over this way.
A yee and a y'all.
Yeah, over here.
We got to get you guys up here to Red Rocks, man. Now that we're getting settled in.
Oh, I want to do another Red Rocks trip. We did Red Rocks not long ago. Went and saw Mark Rubier, so I want to do that again and go.
I would love if Daily Bread came back.
Guess what? Who was here Friday night before Gasparilla?
Was he? He was in Tampa, St. Pete.
Yeah, it's in Tampa. Basically, like, there's a festival called Shipwreck. You can go to, and it's Friday and Saturday night here. But I wasn't going to pay the $100 and something to go, because there was a lot of other things I'm dealing with, to go see, because we had to be up at 8 a.m. to go see the Gasparilla too, right? I'm like, all right, I'm not dealing with all that. So
sounds like you're getting kind of soft.
Yeah. For that cost, I was. It's like I'm not seeing that, paying $100 and going sober.
Dude, I get it.
To go see them.
Having to break the news to my boys about the boys trip, where I was just like, I'm not gonna be able to make it, man. The group thread was going off on me. I'm like, dude, getting older, and between the rental and the money flow and shit, just trying to balance that. Like, oh.
I hate the professional side of being the hippie.
Sometimes, sometimes it's like life comes at you so fast.
To afford that good shit and all the other good shit and the fun times, you got to do the professional side.
You got to pay the tax, man.
Otherwise, you end up with a blanket and your shoe list.
We were talking about it earlier, buying a boring business, because the amount of boomers that are going to be wanting to step away from their businesses. It's so attractive to me, to be able to step in on a business like the mastermind community that I'm a part of. That's all they talk about, is buying boring businesses or buying a business of some sort. And how you finance that, because you can finance it from the seller, you can finance it from the small business association, you can get kind of loans and stuff. I'm like, what kind of business would I want? Oh, it's just something we've been kind of playing around with.
Vending machine. What is it? Vending machines, laundromats. What's the other one?
The only other business that exists. Let me think. Rotating tires. Is that the business you're looking for?
Well, my grandfather brought up basically the version of a boring business in the construction world is being a dump truck broker. So, like, whenever all these places need dump trucks, you have like a fleet of dump trucks, or you're a broker for them, and then you just middleman it, trying to get wherever they need them at. So, like, when they're doing their roadways, someone just needs to haul dirt somewhere or whatever. He's like, that's like the boring version of that in the construction world.
Yeah. I mean, businesses like that there's just so much opportunity, and sometimes it's so tough to see the
Pressure
forest through the
washer.
trees. That's a
Pressure
pretty
washer.
active business, but that is a boring business. Um, I get so attracted to like plumbing, handyman, concrete, stuff like that. It's not going anywhere. And any kind of trade, uh, holy shit, like this. There's a guy I got quoted for my house because the tenants, that I want to make sure everything's good for the next couple of years. There's one spigot on the outside that extended a little bit too far from the house, and I pulled the hose and it kinked. And so I know that's going to be an issue. So I'm going to go need a deal dealt with. $650 to replace a spigot. 650 fucking dollars.
Well, this is good YouTube time.
I'm out of state.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize that when you said that. It's in
I
Texas.
rent here.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have to pay that. I have to pay that out to get
I
that
gotta
done.
pay that.
Oh, yeah.
$150 to drain the water tank, to flush the water tank. It takes 10 minutes. You hook up a hose.
Paying
That's it.
$150. Do you have a tenant in there now? I'll be like, hey, tenant, I'll take $10 off your rent this month if you just go hook up a hose and turn the knob for me real fast.
Oh, you gotta do it the right way. Otherwise you turn that thing into a bomb.
FaceTime them. Hey, man.
Yeah.
You do it this way.
No, it was super cool. The guy was the plumber that had quote me the work. Very responsive, really on top of it. Found him off Reddit, looked at his Yelp reviews, all his reviews, top notch. Veteran. We're in communication. He goes out there, quotes me on a couple things. I was like, okay, cool. Man, the scope of work's gonna be about $1,000. I like to do it in stages. From hey, let's get this fixed now, and as the rent money comes in, I'll pay you that way. He's like, yeah, no problem. Scheduled the work for Friday. He's out there. He came out on a Friday. My tenant calls me on a Sunday and says, hey, I have no heat. And I was like, what's going on here? She's like, the thermostat's like not on at all. And there's 2 thermostats, right?
Mm.
Two units. She's like, I've already called Nest. They said a tech has to come out. So I do some troubleshooting with her. And I was like, well, take this off, unplug this wire from it. Okay, yeah, verified there's no power. Flip the breakers, no power. Okay. And so I text the plumber. I was like, hey, do you remember being in the attic and tripping anything? Like snagging anything? He's like, no, definitely not. I was like, okay. And he calls me immediately. And I was like, dude, I'm not blaming you. Like, I'm just seeing, I'm trying to add up the timeline of what changed. Everything's working. And I asked her, I was like, hey, it'd be super cool if you would have told me about this, like, I don't know, yesterday, because now it's Sunday at 5:30 Mountain Time. So I don't know who the fuck's going to come out at 7 o'clock on a Sunday. And bonus points, it was getting down to 10 degrees in Austin. So I'm thinking about that kink in the spigot turning into a fucking missile blowing back ice water into the house. Because she says to me, it's no big deal. I can go stay with a friend in case it gets cold. And I go, you don't understand. 4 years before you moved into that house, the pipes blew in the attic because of this situation. So then you and I are going to have a really big fucking problem if we don't get this figured out tonight. She's like, okay. So long story short, a HVAC guy came out that night, super awesome company. And it was the fucking switch in the attic right next to the light switch that the plumber flipped. Because he mentioned that to me. He's like, unless they ran, the furnace in the same light switch. And I was like, no, it's a separate light switch, but like you would know because one turns on the lights, the other doesn't do anything, right? One turns on the lights, the other does nothing. So you would know. Yeah. He's like, yeah, no, yeah, I'm good. Cool. So they only charged me $50. The HVAC guy was really nice. I was like, hey, quote me on this other work while you're there. I text the guy, Dylan, you get a kick out of this. And I'm sorry this is so long, but man, this made my blood boil. I just said, hey, it was verified. It was a switch that you flipped. I would appreciate it if we can take that into consideration with the scope of work that we already have being done and take that seriously and deduct it from the work being done. A very cordial professional message, right? Motherfucker text me back. No.
Also, very professional and cordial message.
Oh, dude. At this point, I had taken an edible, but my blood is fucking boiling. Cause I'm like, okay, cool. I got the situation handled. You know what I mean? Like, I got all that handled, and I was like, I'm gonna relax for the evening. Took an edible. This motherfucker texted me back, no. I was like, hey, man, if a $50 service fee is going to be a deal breaker on $650 project, which is pretty much all profit for you, and we have more work being scoped to be done in the coming month, then let's just go ahead and part ways now. And I hate to admit it, but he got me on this. All he responded back is, let's.
Bet.
Dude, when I tell you that text lived rent free in my head for fucking days, still now I'm like, I can't say anything back to that. What am I going to say back to that? You know, am I going to go leave him a shitty review? I'm butthurt because he's being a bitch and then I'm being a bitch. It's just like, it's like when you get fucking road rage and somebody just says something really good and you're like, God damn it. Fuck you. All right.
Like, damn, that was a good one. Like, that was, you deserved that. I don't think you should.
Even worse, you'd be like, no, actually, I could beat your ass, but I'm too emotionally aware and stable to realize that was really good.
Sometimes when they give you a discount, you're like, oh man, I appreciate the discount. But then you think about it later, they're like, yeah, this idiot will call us back. He's got enough problems. We're gonna get a lot of money out of him. Don't worry about it. Like, damn it, dude. He gave me a discount. He knows he's gonna be back here.
Oh, so we got all our snowboarding gear, I guess 2 weeks ago or something like that. And we get our lesson. You know, Abby crushes it. We have a great weekend.
Would be if we were out there or somewhere near snow. It'd be awesome to go snowboarding and skiing all the time.
Dude, it'd be awesome for you to get a fucking lesson. I needed a refresher on the lesson too. And
a lesson would be sweet. They look expensive though. Just for a day, you're like, here's $500, $600.
That was the crazy part. So I looked into it. They had a pass where if you do, I guess it's to encourage beginners. Anyway, it makes sense. So if you do 3, if you're like a first time skier, snowboarder, if you do 3 lessons and you pay for those 3 lessons up front, you get a free season pass. Okay. If you do like 3 lessons, pay as you go, at the end of the 3rd lesson for an extra $100, you get a season pass. And a season pass is $700. So I looked at that and I was like, awesome. But I called the lady and she was like, if you've done it, like this is for first time people only. The first day is like, here's your board, here's how you click in. She's like, it's not the move. So anyway, you can do group lessons. I looked at the group lessons. I don't remember what the cost was for those, but a private lesson was only, I think it was $230 for a private lesson for half a day for Abby. And it was $280 total for the both of us. I think in a group lesson format, it's $180 per person. So it was actually cheaper to do a private lesson, which is pretty cool.
It's kind of cool too that they give you the pass at the end because they want people that know how to use their mountains and not tearing them up. So they're like,
they want you to shred the gnar.
Yeah, they're like, if you take the lessons, we'll just give you the pass. But like, if you just come out here and wing it, tear up our shit, you got to pay.
They probably don't want you to tear up your shit. The mountain's pretty tough to tear up, honestly. Aside from the lift, they don't.
True.
They probably don't want you tearing up other people's shit. You know.
Yeah, you keep
like ACLs and MCLs,
like I was doing when I was there.
If I remember correctly, you were pretty controlled chaos straight down that mountain.
If I could go, if I had to straight, but if I had to like navigate around people, chaos. I'll let it. I'll put my head down and fly, which also they don't want. But I'm like, it's one or the other. You don't get both. you know. So, but as soon as I had to avoid hitting somebody, I'm tumbling. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
I'm tumbling, you know.
Uh,
But if I put my head down, I could fly down that mountain pretty good.
yeah. So we got new gear, and the place we went to is really nice. It's kind of like, you would love this place. It's called Shields. It's like a Bass Pro mixed with like a Dick's Sporting Goods with
That sounds awesome.
it's got a restaurant in it and a Ferris wheel in it. And
is this one of those places? All I've been hearing about, all I hear about really every season is one of those resorts where everyone goes to, Vail or something, and like it's just packed. It's like, why would I buy a season pass where everyone is going? Everyone's like, go to the smaller mountains.
it's so tough. I did an inordinate amount of research trying to figure out what pass do you buy. So there's Icon and Epic Pass, which I don't remember which one, but it's kind of like the Insomniac of passes, right? Like if you buy one pass, you get to go to Breckenridge and Vale and whatever. If you buy this other pass, you get to go all these other mountains. But the getting there and getting home part of it, as well as reading a lot about on Reddit, that Loveland Mountain is the one we bought a season pass to. So maybe it's not as fucking ginormous as, what's the mountain that we went on? Was that Vale?
Dude, I was barely alive when I was there.
Right. Might have been
Snowboarding.
I don't remember. Anyway, so it might not be as giant as that, but so many people were like, it's a great mountain. So
I just really liked that the lifts were enclosed when we were there. That was awesome. I was like, that's fantastic.
You do get that with the really big, nice resorts. It's just the traffic, man. So when I called the lady out, because we're from where I'm sitting right here to the bottom of the lift for where we bought our season pass is 1 hour. Okay. And I'm talking to the lady before we buy the passes because it's a lot of fucking money. I want to make sure I get the right thing. And I was like, hey, just before I let you go, we're an hour away from the mountain. Like, should I leave? Like 2 hours? Like, when's the lift open? Kind of deal. She was like, I would be in the car at 5:30. I'm like, what the fuck did you just say to me?
Did the credit card already process? Sure.
She was like, yeah, during the weekday, you can get away with that like 1.5 hour shit. She's like, if you're going to be a weekend warrior, she's like, yeah. First lifts open at 8:30. I would be in the car at 5:30.
Be in line by 7:30.
So
standing in the cold.
It wasn't that bad. We left at 6. We got there at 8. And our lesson was at 9 or something like that, or I don't know. I might have got that a little off, but regardless, we got the closest mountain. After that, you have to go through this tunnel in the mountain and deal with another potentially hour and a half.
That's interesting. I didn't think they were that far away from Denver. I would have thought they would be pretty close.
The mountains
that you ski on, yeah. I thought.
Well, like I said, yeah. I mean, if from where we're at right here, and we're pretty centrally located, an hour, like that's not too bad. You're going up a fucking mountain, an hour. Most of it's just doing that. So,
I wonder if they have. Someone should make the Uber for helicopters in Denver. Just be like, you're trying to get to the mountain quick, just boop boop, and then you just walk up.
Dude, I could be wrong in this, but there is an Uber for helicopters.
Just see what that costs. Like, is it worth the hour? Or if I go to this helicopter, 20 minutes, I'm at there. Boom, drop me off.
How cool would that be?
Yeah, you don't even need the lift. They just drop you off at the top of the mountain. Thanks. Skip the whole process. At least once. You get to skip the lift once,
Oh my God, what a wet dream that would be.
The rest of the day, use the lift, and then at the end of the day, they're like, I'll meet you at the bottom.
There's an empty school, like a block from us, 2 stop signs over. Imagine just like walking to the end of the street with your gear. A helicopter picks you up, drops you at the top of the mountain.
That'd be cool, right?
That would
sounds like a business idea in Denver. I feel like a lot of people would be able to afford that in Denver area.
Yeah, you got to think. I mean,
let's get Tyler on the call. We need an investor here.
Need some funds and some birds. We need to spin this thing up.
I need to spin this. I got a field. It ain't mine, but we'll land her.
No, It is cool because it's crazy how expensive it is to get into. That's one big thing that we're like, God. I mean, you don't have to. My thing is, when I'm out there, I want to be fucking comfortable. I don't want
Yeah.
the snow to get down my neck, and
It's like it's weird because now it's popping in my head. It's like snowboarding and skiing is like the equivalent of like expensive golf. You got to
Yeah.
get all your equipment. It's expensive to get all your equipment,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the big expense is gone. Now your expense every time now is when you just go.
Yeah.
Like, all right, and if you want to be comfortable, you're like, all right, it's a hot day. I got to put all the sunblock on. I got to do all this, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But then snowboarding, you get everything, but now I gotta. Man, I just remember, like, as a Florida boy, I have all this gear on, but then as I start snowboarding, I'm like, I am sweating underneath all this. It feels like the Everglades underneath this
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing too is when we were at Shields, we were looking at different layers and options and stuff, and it's kind of cool. All the camping, that I've done over the years and we've done over the years, helping me understand about the different quality levels. Because
Yeah.
the unfortunate part when it comes to gear, when it's related to the outdoors, 9 times out of 10, you get what you pay for. There's not a ton of corners you can cut when it comes to a jacket or pants, underwear, socks. It's $100 for a reason for a pair of socks,
Yeah.
or the gloves or whatever. But
Have you I've been seeing videos pop up with the X Games. I want to go to the X Games one day so bad. But there was a video of the guy that came out, and he did this crazy trick. I mean, absolutely. He spun like 5 times on his skis before he landed, and he came down, and the interviewer came up to him, and she was like, John, you're shaking so much. Why are you shaking? And he goes, because that was terrifying. I do not want to be doing these tricks. He goes, I'm doing it, but I do not want to have to be doing these. These are insane.
Oh my gosh, I saw that clip.
It was just so funny to hear that from a professional doing that, being like,
He was
scared out of my mind.
This. Oh man.
Because you think, I never even thought about that. Normally they're not having to do these tricks. They practice them, of course, but like you get to a level, you're like, I have to go do the craziest trick up my sleeve in order to pass this.
I don't remember where I was at. I remember Michael was with me, and I think it was his buddy that we met up with. It might have been here in Denver. We met up with his buddy on the mountain who was a snowboard instructor. The dude was an instructor or no, he's an employee. And he'd only been fucking snowboarding for like 5 or 6 weeks. And we get up to this jump, Dylan. I'm not kidding you, dude. It was 35 feet fucking tall was the ramp. The fucking ramp. I was just like, what are we doing here?
35 feet tall.
Dude.
I'm going to ramp it. Oh my.
I tried 3 separate times to hit the rail at the top before you go off. I was like, I'm not hitting that ramp. I mean, I hit like a 5-foot ramp and I thought I was king of the mountain. You know what I mean? Yeah, this dude just sent it. I was like, excuse me, sir, what the fuck was that? He goes, well, I used to surf and skateboard too. I was like, you just went off a building.
That didn't answer my question.
The fuck is wrong with you, man? Yeah, I don't know.
Because you're not landing on soft either.
No.
It ain't like those runs are soft.
No.
You're on hard ice.
You're landing on a dirt road.
Yeah.
You're landing on a sandy dirt road. That's that's about the cushion you get, is like whatever the last guy that ate shit kicked up is kind of what you get the grace of.
The guy that makes that too, he's like, oh yeah, looking for the 20 people, only 20 people that'll enjoy that thing.
Right. It was so funny to hear that guy say that. He's like, I'm terrified. I want to be doing these fucking runs. I want to do these tricks.
I am terrified. I do not want to be doing these
I think
tricks.
it's the first time I've ever heard a professional say something like that. I'm like, oh, you're human.
Yeah. Everyone's laughing like, that guy's real. But his trick was insane.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, holy cow. He's like, I do not want to be doing these. That sucks. He's like, this sucks. I do not want to be doing these tricks. But X Games, man, they always feel like they go so crazy at X Games with stuff. Like specifically the winter ones. Like the X Games in the summer are usually, the rollerblades and the skateboarding, stuff like that. But the summer when they got these huge bombs on snowboards or skiing, even crazy.
Yeah. One of the main complaints I saw this year about the X Games was like the spin to win, that they're seeing like, hey, what are the new tricks that people are going to come out with? Because I think the guy that won gold, he did a 2360, 2430, something like that. He spun 6.5 times.
I think it might have been that guy.
No, the guy. So the guy that you're referring to, I think he was on skis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they compete in different ski and snowboard. I think I could be wrong on that. I think I might be wrong because I think the guy that we're both talking about here, I think he would have won gold if this guy wouldn't have done that. I don't remember. But there was that one guy that did a trick where he like spun halfway and then he kind of took his arms and threw his momentum back the other direction to stop the spin and spin back the other way. And when you look at it, it looks so goofy, and it's like, that shouldn't be like a really highly awarded point thing. But the people were breaking it down. They're like, you don't understand, like at a certain point, people they won't be able to spin to win. They won't be able to spin any fucking more. Like it will be like maxed out. That is, physics isn't allowing you to go much further unless you put a rocket pack on that board.
Or you're going higher. One of the two. Yeah.
Something faster, higher, right? And this guy invented a new trick. They were like, that's the first person to do a backflip. That's what that looked like, right? Before they're doing like cans and.
Or the one where, I guess too, with the snowboard where they like, it looks like the board catches on purpose. Like they look at the board and then they flip like a somersault kind of. And they touch the thing at the bottom as they're going. And if they time it perfect, right when it slopes down, it can turn into like one full or two. Like
I think the guy that won that. So you're talking about the knuckle huck. That was that event where like
what that's called? Yeah, that was like a new trick years ago, and someone was like, "That's crazy," and now it's a big thing.
Well, I think the point of the knuckle huck is that they have to interact with like that knuckle in some form or fashion. And the guy that won that event, he did a triple rodeo. So he did that where he like dug the front of his board in and essentially front flip, but like side flip 3 times while touching the motherfucker.
You know how that happened too? It was one of those guys that are a pro, saw some kid accidentally do it and like eat shit. And he was like, what if you land that could look pretty good. He just saw some kid, oh shit. If you land that though.
You gotta wonder what those guys do to come up with new tricks. They just throw stuff around and
smoke a little weed, shred the gnar, see what happens.
Go to a trampoline park, off into a ball pit.
I don't know. Looking forward to all these snowboarders and skiers being like, what idiots.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we gotta get you out here, man. That's a nice, sober activity that we can do.
Yeah, it would be fun to do that because I loved it when the twice I've done it. I loved it both times doing it. It is so great.
I'm so impressed that you went for boarding too. Skiing's so much easier to pick up.
It is, because the first time I did snowboarding, I did snowboard too. It took me a couple of days, but I picked it up by the 3rd or 4th day.
Yeah.
My confidence just was through the roof again when I got there. I was like, oh, I think because I was like, already have done the snowboarding, just do that again. And I'll pick it up. I should have just done the skiing though. Figured it out. But
no, I think you made the right move. I was just surprised. And I think that the day that we went, it was pretty icy. It was not
super icy.
It was not friendly to like let me remember how to do this.
Yeah, because I was like, it took me most of the day, but by the evening, I was like, all right, I've picked up the rhythm back
Yeah.
up again.
Yeah.
And that was fun. Once most people had gone home too, and I wasn't dodging everyone, I was like, all right, now I've got the mountain. Now I can flow around the mountain and be pretty good. Now
Yeah.
the one at that point I'm just dodging is when they when the paths would overlap and like someone is just flying down, and you're like, all right, don't hit me, man. I'm just coming through the intersection here.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the guy flying through. I'm like, I think I can get around that guy.
And I got lost for an hour by going on the wrong bus. Taking me out to the resorts. And I'm like, sir, why are we out at the resorts? That's the bus you hopped on, man. That's I don't know. Oh, got it. Sorry. My fault. Me. I'm the problem.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the bus you just hopped on. We're hopping off of. In which case, hey, maybe next week we'll have our guest on. I don't know if we do.
Maybe we'll have our guest on next week. He'll come back. We got more guests we're setting up too.
We've got more experts coming your way. And in case you haven't and you want to be on the bus with us next week and the following weeks, rub up against that.
Rolling and rolling.
Follow, like, subscribe button.
Brush up against that subscribe. It's not hard. You just look. You take it like this, and you hit the button. You know,
hard if you
or
want
with your finger. It's very easy. If you
Even
didn't
if
know
you
how to
want-
do it, folks, that's how you do it.
We don't discriminate. Hey, we love being back with you guys. If for anything else, we just really enjoy shooting the shit. So thank you guys. Love you. See you next week. Peace.